What's up, people? Welcome back to Chris Chats Comics. My name's Chris Gonzalez, and on this episode of Single Issue Sundays, the Monday edition, I'm going to be going over 7 titles, including 3 from DC, 2 from Image, and 2 from Marvel. So let's get into it. Welcome back. In Single Issue Sundays is the video series where I do a deep dive discussion, review, recap of all of the issues that I picked up on the previous New Comic Book Day, and you can check out my latest haul video where I, first picked up these titles. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. First one we're gonna go over is probably the biggest issue of the week, as it is every time it drops. It's Absolute Batman. This is issue number 21. This is written by Scott Snyder. The artwork's done by Nick Dragotta. The colors are done by Frank Martin, and the letters are done by Tom Napolitano. And again, another great issue of Absolute Batman. The anime influences are all over this comic. It's just really bombastic and just really out there, balls to the wall, high octane action pretty much every time, while also still maintaining those emotional moments and thought-provoking storylines. And I think, again, Scott Snyder and all the artists who've contributed to the series have been doing a great job, especially Nick Dragotta. Again, Nick Dragotta's artwork just sets the tone for this story. And yeah, it's, again, another great issue. So Batman, he is confronting the Robins, and they're in their mech suits, and they're being led by the absolute version of Slade Wilson. But look at this double page spread. I mean, this double page spread is just perfectly encapsulates what Absolute Batman is about. It's just out there, over exaggerated artwork, but I love it. It just works. And so yeah, he's dealing with the mechs, and the mechs are, in comparison to him, are fucking huge. I mean, Batman's already a pretty big dude, but these mechs are towering over him, and so they're trying to take him down. Slade, he's giving out orders, and meanwhile Batman, he's just evading each of them, getting the upper hand on him. And Dick Grayson is one of the Robins. He's R1, and he is an EMT in this world. And you can still, in this issue in particular, you can see the characteristics of the typical Dick Grayson, where he's very empathetic towards people, and he, since he is an EMT, he's trying to help them. And Jason Todd, he is R2. He's in the biggest mech, and he's carrying the huge Gatling gun. He is like Jason Todd in the mainline universe. He is very trigger happy. And so, but eventually Harley Quinn sends in a bunch of these bat drones to distract the Robins and to rescue Bruce in the nick of time. And then we get a flashback to Bruce's time. He's trying to pay off the debt he owes to Carmine Falcone, and he's working as an enforcer. And one day Jim Gordon pulls up, and he tries to have a word with Bruce, and Bruce tells Gordon, like, hey, don't worry about me, just lay off. And Jim Gordon's like, hey, well, your friend's already pay back the debt that you owe Falcone. And Bruce tells Gordon, like, hey, well, now I have to pay them back, because I didn't want them to use all their money. And then we cut back to the present. It is the funeral of Jim Gordon, and yes, he is dead. So Barbara, she is giving her eulogy, and it's very heartwarming and emotional. And afterwards, the Robins go speak with Barbara, and they're trying to get her to agree with them that Batman needs to be stopped, but Barbara, she's having none of it, and she's starting to question the whole law system in general. And you know, it's we already got spoiled that she will be becoming this version of Batgirl, which is the Bats. So we'll see how she continues to go down that path. It was a foregone conclusion that she was going to be Batgirl, because, you know, during the Poison Ivy arc, she obtains the helmet, so I was like, okay, she's going to use that helmet to, you know, put it on herself. So, but then we catch up with Bruce's friends, Waylon, Harvey, Eddie, and Ozzy, and again, they're just reflecting on how their lives have changed, and you know, they're slowly becoming their villainous counterparts. And even though they haven't really done any, even though they, like, again, they look like they're villains, they haven't crossed that tipping point yet of becoming full-on villain. I'm very curious to see if they turn into full-on villains, but just look at the design for Two-Face, just badass, and I had to get that cover. But yeah, this is a moment we've been waiting for. Bruce, he's back at his job, and he gets an unexpected visitor in Jack Grimm, aka the Joker. And this was really intense, really dramatic. They're over this Skybeam, but Bruce, he immediately tries to attack Jack Grimm, and Jack stops him and turns into the demon creature. So he's basically telling him, like, hey, I'm not gonna kill you yet, I'm gonna have some fun with you. And then it ends with a little preview of Clayface. So Batman and Clayface are on a head-on collision, and this was, again, another great issue of Absolute Batman. I'm really considering of getting pulling the single issues for this. It's just so good. I cherry-picked like only a handful of single issues for this line, so I might have to pick up the rest and try to get back issues. It's gonna be hard getting first printings of earlier issues, but we'll see. I have yet to decide on that. So that was Absolute Batman 21. Next we got from DC, Deathstroke, the Terminator, issue number 4. And this is written by Tony Fleeks. The artwork's done by Carmine Di Giandomenico. The colors are done by Yvonne Placencia. And the letters are done by Wes Abbott. And this is another fun issue of Deathstroke. So we catch up again. Deathstroke was fighting Deathshot and Deathblow, and they're trying to collect the bounty on him, but then his daughter Ravager, aka Rose Wilson, saves the day, incapacitates both Deadshot and Deathblow, and Slade, he's initially relieved to see his daughter, but then she wants none of it. The only reason she came to assist was she wants Slade to die. And they definitely have an estranged relationship, so they leave the scene. They take Jason Todd's, looks like a Challenger, and they have a heart-to-heart conversation on this car ride about, you know, their relationship and how Rose, how she thinks of her dad. And so Slade tells her that, hey, like, I didn't kill Wintergreen, I have no money, I need money to, you know, look into his murder, so I took this job, this hit job on the dark web, help me out. So they eventually come to this diner in the middle of nowhere, and they had to change into more appropriate attire. The series definitely has a lot of subtle humor that I really appreciate, so shout out to Tony But again, they have another really deep and heartfelt conversation, just furthers explores their relationship dynamic, and I thought this was, very insightful on how these characters are feeling about each other. So, and then while at the diner, they come across this rude customer who's being a jackass, and he's talking shit, and Slade tries to spook him. And then again, they just continue to have this heartfelt conversation. And that's pretty much the whole issue, is just them talking. And since the first 3 issues are very high octane action, I think this was a great issue to slow things down and it was a great issue for character development for Slade. Because again, he has family issues, that's for sure. So later on, Slade comes across that jackass from earlier in the bathroom, and the dude starts to talk mad shit to him about his daughter and being a creep. So Slade, he didn't like any of that. He kills the guy. So they eventually leave the diner, and Slade's like, "Oh, we got a new ride." And Rose is like, "You killed this guy? What the hell?" She's really upset, so she leaves him. She's like, "I'm out of here." But then all of a sudden, we got another Deathstroke? What? Somebody is impersonating Slade, and so who is under the mask? I don't know, but they're going to be after both Rose and Slade now. So another fun issue, another great slower paced issue of Deathstroke. Really great character development. He's again got to see more insight into Rose and Slade's relationship, so I really appreciated that. So definitely another great issue of Deathstroke the Terminator, and this is issue 4, so check it out. The last issue for DC is End of Life. This is issue number 5, and this is written by Kyle Starks. The artwork's done by Steve Pugh. The colors are done by Chris O'Halloran, and the letters are done by Becca Carey. So this, again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, so another great issue of End of Life. End of last issue, Leona, the owner of this gas station in the small town of Pluto, where Eddie has been camped out at, her son was kidnapped by Richard Smiley. So Leona is telling Eddie, like, "Hey, you gotta get my son. If you don't get him, I'm gonna call the cops." And Eddie is just like, I don't know why I should do that. They want to kill the kid, but Richard Smiley, he's kind of a douche. He's an asshole. So they're planning to do something with the kid, hold him hostage. And again, Leona is just having none of Eddie's shit right now. And so she blackmails Eddie to get his ass moving and to find her son. And so Eddie visits these 2 women who they know all about Richard Smiley because I think they worked at the amusement park that he founded. But they tell Eddie that he has an apartment in the amusement park. So he gets more information from them. And then he goes back to his dad's house, and it's revealed that George, he has survived the attack from Drathar, the tracker from the menagerie, and he's still alive. He just got a shoulder injury, and he hired this guy to clean up the dead bodies. And then Eddie's like, "Oh, well, can you clean up some of the bodies by the gas station?" And George is pissed off because since Eddie got there, he brought so much chaos and disarray into his hometown. So he kicks Eddie out again. He doesn't want him to come back. Then Eddie goes to the amusement park, tries to save Trent, and he takes out most of Richard Smiley's goons, and he calls Smiley out on the what do you call it? I'm totally blanking on what you call it. The sound system. the speaker system. He calls them out on the speaker system. He tells them like, hey, you don't return Trent in one piece, I'm gonna kill everybody in this park. So they make a deal. And Richard Smiley, he's like, oh shit, it's a deal. I'm scared of you. Because Eddie, even though he's kind of an idiot, he knows how to kill people. And so Trent comes out, Eddie's like, what, are you okay? And it's a trap. Again, the humor in this, there's a lot of humor, but most of it works for me. And Eddie's distracting these guys by saying, I'm gonna use my mind bullets to kill every one of you. And then all of a sudden you think like, oh shit, does Eddie have telepathic abilities? No, he doesn't. It's actually his father, George. He is sniping and backing him up. So I thought that was a cool twist. And Eddie, he takes out the rest of the goons, and Smiley, he goes on the run, tries to retreat. They end up back at the train station, or the gas station, and Smiley and some of his guys immediately like, hey, just arrest us, we don't want to get killed. And then Leona points Smiley as the kidnapper of her son. And yeah, and then Eddie, he thanks his dad for saving him, and George is just really disappointed in Eddie. He's like, yo, you brought all this bullshit to my town, kicking you out. And Eddie's like, where the fuck am I supposed to go now? So that was it. That was the end of issue number 5 for End of Life. And I think this is the ending of the first arc. So another great, fun issue of End of Life. I highly recommend. So can't wait to see what shenanigans Eddie is up to next. So now let's move on to Image, and first Image title we got is Battle Beast. This is issue number 10. This is written by Robert Kirkman. The artwork's done by Ryan Ottley. The colors are done by Annalisa Leone, and the letters are done by Russ Wooten. And this was another good, I mean, most of these issues have been great so far. But yeah, another solid issue of Battle Beast. The last issue at the end, Conquest shows up on the planet that Battle Beast is at with King Salaka, and they're having a confrontation. And just throughout the first couple of pages, you just feel the tension of, you know, Conquest and Battle Beast, and this double page spread just perfectly encapsulates that tension between them. They're at this dinner, and you know, Salaka is trying to negotiate with Conquest about, you know, integrating the Viltrumites into their society, but Conquest is just pretty much sizing up Battle Beast, trying to get more info about him, and Battle Beast is doing the same with Conquest, but meanwhile, again, Salaka is trying to be peaceful, and Conquest, he wants none of it, and he pretty much says, hey, Battle Beast, you seem formidable, let's fight. And Battle Beast was like, well, I've been waiting for this day, let's do it. Just again, Ryan Ottley, I think he's doing the best work he's ever done in Battle Beast. And just the colors by Annalisa Leone, again, elevate the artwork just tenfold. So this is what we've been waiting for, and it's a showdown. And then the second half of this issue is them just beating the shit out of each other. Again, look at that, look at the detail, great artwork. So they fight, again, they're trying to figure each other out. Great sequences. Action is thrilling. The pacing, again, very, very fast. Even though the beginning, you know, it was a little slower because they were, you know, having that conversation. But once it got into the action, it just went go from there. And again, everything you expected the battle to go is pretty much the way it happens. Just, and then, you know, Conquest, he's gloating a bit. Battle Beast, he gets out his magic sword. Conquest doesn't think it's a big deal. this. He chomps at the sword like this. Great, look it out. Again, Ryan Otley doing his best work. And then Battle Beast is like, hey, you've underestimated me because, bitch, it's a magic sword. And Conquest is very intrigued. So the battle continues in the next issue. But yeah, this was another fun, tension-filled issue of Battle Beast. Again, recommends. That was issue number 10. And the last Image title I'm going to be going over is If Destruction Be Our Lots. This is issue number 2. This is written by Matthew and Mark Rosenberg. The artwork's done by Andy McDonald. Colors are done by Francesco Segala. And the letters are done by Hassan Otsman Elhal. And another fun issue of If Destruction Be Our Lot. I'm really digging this series. Just I love the world building. It's very wholesome. You sympathize with the main character in Abe, the animatronic Abraham Lincoln. With the last issue, Abe came across a human, and he, tried to tell the other robots, but he got in trouble because they're trying to hide something. Because apparently the humans have been extinct for several decades, but some robots are trying to cover it up, so they go to this facility to dismantle robots, or they are trying to reset them and to their default settings. So Abe, he comes across this other robot's name. What's his name? His nickname is Speed. His official name is SPD 875, but they call him Speed. So I just like the dynamic between Abe and Speed. Very funny again. Appreciate the humor. And it's just and I like how the artwork by Andy McDonald is just building out this world. You can feel the vastness of it. And I just like the world building through the artwork. So look at all the detail. So again, very fun series. And Hassan, his letters are he's the best letterist in the game right now. And this series is no exception. And I just thought I liked how Abe, he comes across the bus driver robot that was in the last issue. The bus driver, he wants nothing to do with Abe. He's like, all seats occupied, disembark. And he gives him like a mean mug. So really funny. So yeah, they're trying to reset Abe, but he just won't be reset. He won't be reprogrammed. Why is that? Why isn't his programming being reset? We don't know. So I'm curious to see why that's the case. And again, he reunites with Speed, and Speed keeps telling him like, hey, in order to survive this, you gotta shut the fuck up, Abe. Stop talking about the humans. But, Abe's like, he can't. He's like, this, what this does? Like, this changes everything if there's humans that are still alive. So, again, just loving the artwork. And then they are about to be disassembled when Speed comes across a former colleague robot, and he dismantles him to get some type of core to create a weapon. And then Speed uses the weapon to destroy this robot that was about to dismantle him. And he sets Speed, with Abe's help, sets off this discharge to destroy the robot who's trying to dismantle him. Abe thinks Speed is dead, but Speed's still alive. But then again, now they're on the run, and Abe actually kills his own robot here, and he's like all he's in shock that he actually killed somebody. But then now again, they're still on the run. And then they fall down this corridor, and they come across another human, a second human. So humans are apparently still alive, so what have they been up to? What is going on? Why don't the other robots want Abe and other robots to know that humans are still alive? So another great issue. I'm intrigued about the story. Love the world building through the artwork. It's a great series. Definitely recommend If Destruction Be Our Lot. That was issue number 2. Now let's go ahead and move on to Marvel. And we got The Punisher. This is issue number 5, and this is Legacy issue 284. And this is written by Benjamin Percy. The pencils are done by Jose Luis Torres and Sergio Davila. And the inks are done by Oren Jr. and Jonas Trindade. Colors are done by Frank DeMarta, and the letters are done by Corey Pettit. And the artwork's just incredible in this series. It has been, and it's reflective of the gritty and violent nature that is the Punisher's character. So I really appreciate that the artwork matches the tone, and Benjamin Percy, again, is a really great writer when doing these type of stories. I just thought this panel layout was really creative, how the blood, was the outlines of the layouts. And again, just Jigsaw, he's trying to carve Frank's face out and wear it. So, and he cuts him multiple times, and he says like, "Oh, there's a neural toxin on the blade, so you're gonna be paralyzed for a little bit." But he says that, but Frank's moving. How is he not paralyzed? Frank is a normal human being. He's not a superhero. He doesn't have superpowers, so how is he not paralyzed? Whatever. But anyway, so Tombstone, he escaped from jail with the help of this guy, I forgot his name, and Tombstone pays a visit to Jigsaw, who's trying to blackmail him, Tombstone, into forfeiting all his property. We cut back to Jigsaw. He put on this this costume made out of thick skin and faces, and it's similar to the Punisher, but it's like the skull is a bunch of faces, and Jigsaw's like, okay, all I need is your face, and then people will be afraid of me now. So again, look at that artwork. Crazy artwork. And it's just really grotesque, but look at this. So Frankie stabs a knife in the side of Jigsaw's head to incapacitate him for a little bit and get the upper hand. So, and artwork just really, really gritty, and story by Benjamin Percy. It's really good. And meanwhile, outside, Tombstone, he is laying down the gunfire and trying to lure Jigsaw out, not knowing Frank is already in there. So Frank, he incapacitates Jigsaw by shooting him twice in the abdomen. So is Jigsaw dead? I'm not sure. He looks like he's bleeding out. But then Tombstone and his guy, they throw a Molotov cocktail into the building, and it starts to set on fire. Frank escapes. Great coloring. Place smells of burning flesh. And then Frank and Tombstone have a brief shootout, but eventually Tombstone escapes. And then the cops show up, and Frank, he escapes, but also looks like Jigsaw was able to escape, so he'll probably show back up at some point. But Frank, he escapes. But then we cut back to this newscast of the reporter, Madeline Phipps. I think that's her name, Phipps. Yeah. And she is now deeply in the pockets of Jigsaw. and she's spreading propaganda against Frank, labeling him as enemy number one, just like Jigsaw instructed her to. But someone is watching that newscast, and who is this? A new player out to get Frank? Who is that? We don't know. But that was it. That was the end of issue number 5. Great issue, very fun. Enjoyed the action. The artwork's incredible. Again, it just perfectly encapsulates what a Punisher comic should be, in my opinion. So again, Punisher issue number 5. And then the last title we got today is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue number 31, and this is Legacy issue 995. This is written by Joe Kelly. The artwork's done by Patrick Gleason. The colors are done by Marcio Menes, and the letters are done by Joe Caramagna. And so this issue is jumping between a underground cage fight that the villains attend, and they do this because they're trying to bid for assorted weapons that belong to other villains. So I thought the editing and the pacing was just off because it cuts back to this cage fight while also discussing a huge conversation with Aunt May and Peter about, potentially her new or her son. But first, again, the cage fight, we got Montana and Tarantula, they're fighting, while we got this announcer who turns out to be the Vulture, and they're fighting to obtain some weapons. And then again, it cuts to Aunt May having the talk with Peter, and this is the main crux of the issue. And I think this is where Joe Kelly excels at. Those personal and emotional moments between Peter and Aunt May have been probably the best part of Joe Kelly's run. He's always, when they have deep moments and personal moments with each other, that's when Joe Kelly's writing really stands out. So again, but it keeps coming back to this cage fight. I mean, the artwork's cool. I really dug Patrick Gleason's, look at his design. I really thought this design for Spidey was really cool. So Spidey, he interrupts, and again, Vulture, he is the announcer, and he's not too pleased that Spidey has interfered. But Spidey, he enters the cage fighting, but then jumps back to, again, May just explaining all the times that her and Uncle Ben tried to get pregnant, and due to her heart condition, it was really not wise for her to be pregnant, but they kept trying anyway. And again, she had multiple miscarriages, but then one time, she did give birth to a son. But again, cuts back to cage fight, tombstones, not impressed. And then this is the reason that Peter is in this cage fight. He wants Shocker's gauntlets. For what reason? Not quite sure, but so Vulture, Tombstone, he 6 Vulture on Spider-Man. But then again, cut back to May, just again giving more details about what happened and her the latest attempt to get with her being pregnant, she did give birth. And I like how it's in the point of view of her looking at her son. But there were some issues where there was respiratory distress, and so they took the son away. They thought the baby died. So very emotional moment. Very emotional. Again, I give Joe Kelly his credit. He was able to convey a very emotional discussion. But then, she pulls out the birth certificate for that dead child, and the birthday is the same birthday for Cormac, the long lost cousin. And that was pretty much it. And we get Spidey and Vulture. They are going to fight now in this cage, but who else is here? It's Raylith, Peter's alien girlfriend. She is at the cage fight as well, but why is she there? What are her intentions? What's going on with her now? But that was it. That was the issue 31 of Amazing Spider-Man. I thought it was okay. I thought the moments between Aunt May discussing, what happened with all her pregnancies and her discussion with Peter, I thought that was really heartfelt and emotional. But just the editing with it being going back and forth with that and the cage fight, that it was just, the pacing was really jarring. So, I mean, again, it was an okay issue, but not great. But again, maybe you felt different. I don't know, but that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 31. So that was it. Those were all the issues that I wanted to discuss today. So let me know if you read any of those books in the comments, and let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. And yeah, let me know what else you've been reading and what other series I should check out. So that was it. That was the latest latest episode of Single Issue Sundays, the Monday edition. Again, I'm trying to get it to be released on Sundays. I really am. So just bear with me. But that was it. Leave a like on the video. Share the video if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, that was it. So thanks again for watching. This is Chris Chats Comics. I'm Chris Gonzalez. And I'm out. Peace.